Hey, thanks for checking out Pac-10 Sports Talk. We finally made it. We're in week 15 of the NCAA football season, which means there is no week 15. It's over. But we're going to recap week 14 on the Pac-10. We're going to start off with Arizona playing Arizona State University. Went down in overtime. Lost by a point was Arizona, 29-30. Joel, fun game to watch.
Fun game to watch. And can the stats be any closer? Let me just give you some stats right here. First downs, 19-19. Total yards, 391 to 389. Passing yards, 267 to 266. And rushing yards, 122 to 135. It's fitting that this thing went into overtime. And you mentioned last week, Jack, for those who watched the show, that if this game came down to kickers, you'd want to go with the Arizona State kicker and not the Arizona kicker. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it was an even match. And it came down to extra points. The missed extra point brought it into overtime, and the missed extra point in overtime lost the game for Arizona. Now for Arizona, you have 4 losses in a row. You're going to be playing an Oklahoma State team in the Alamo Bowl. Not a lot of confidence, so it'll be interesting to see how they react to that. And then for Arizona State, at least they went on a 2-game winning streak to close the season. There's no bowl berth for them, but I think they found their quarterback with Osweiler, the big 7-foot, 5-foot freak. Actually, he's 6'8". But I mean, the guy's
as big as Cam Newton.
Yeah, the guy can run for a big guy, and he's a leader. I don't know if you saw him on the sidelines, but just very vocal. And I think they go into the offseason knowing that they have a really good quarterback.
Yeah, speaking of kickers, Alex Zendejas, when they played down in Eugene a few weeks back, Zendejas, as he's trotting off the field after kicking a successful field goal, he taunts the Oregon bench. And don't think he should have done that. I think the football gods got a little angry because, as you see, it came back to haunt him in this game. He missed 2 field goals, as Joel mentioned. Maybe you shouldn't talk. Probably the same God that had it in for Kyle Brotzman a couple of weeks ago when Boise State got beat. The guy missed 2. Oh my gosh! On the Arizona State side of the ball, like Joel said, I think they found their quarterback. The guy he's been replacing is Stephen Treat. I think he's only a junior, so I'm not really sure what his position is going to be next year. We might just see a transfer coming up. What do you guys think? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's a good point. Okay, next game I want to talk about is USC taking out UCLA 28-14. Jack?
It's a rarity to see a Trojan team end the season 5-4 and sit on the sidelines while teams like Washington and Arizona go to a bowl game. But that's what's happening this year. It's got to be pretty miserable for a proud program like that to see that happen. But at least the Trojans finished on the high point. Matt Barkley came back in the game after being out last week and led the team to a win. Although I don't think he is that especially sharp that game. And for UCLA, they were 4-5 after they beat Oregon State back a few weeks ago, and they needed to win the last two out of the last 3 games to be bowl eligible. Well, this was game number 3 and 3 straight losses. So I'm going to assume that Rick Neuheisel, that's the one. Rick Neuheisel, he's probably going to have to go back to the drawing board, meet with his staff, and figure out how to right the ship. I'm not saying the ship is sinking, but at least I think it's taken on some water.
Well, I just can't remember a game of the crosstown rivalry not meaning much. I mean, both teams really had, UCLA wasn't going to be bowl eligible, and for USC there was no national implications or even bowl implications this year. So that was a little odd. But in this particular game, to me, it basically came down to rushing. You can't really stop a team rushing. Chances are you're probably not going to win on this one. And the rushing was in favor of USC, 271 to 128, and Alan Bradford. Big game with 28 carries and 212 yards. Again, rushing's what the lack of UCLA being able to stop USC, that's what doomed them. And it will be interesting in the offseason. Like I said, USC at least ended on a high note, and UCLA losing 6 out of their last 7 going into an offseason. I don't know. That doesn't bode well for them. That's a miserable offseason.
Yeah, sure. Okay, on our Facebook page, we asked for your Civil War predictions. And Jack, who came the closest?
Well, we have a winner. Shirley Davison Biles. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. She got closest to the score. And in fact, I don't know what happened to her, but she missed it. It was 37-20 was the actual final score. She had 36-21.
Jeez. Way off.
Way off. But she was our winner. So congratulations. And by the way, Shirley, congratulations. You go to my high school, Bandon, Oregon. Great high school. Congratulations.
And Joy, you picked the correct score, but unfortunately you picked it after the game, so
Yeah.
you were obviously.
It's a little stipulation of ours.
It doesn't
You
work.
have to predict the score before kickoff. So, sorry,
Yeah.
cheater. All right, Joel, go into the game. Let's talk about the Civil War.
Well, in this game, a lot of implications. You had Oregon trying to go to the national championship game. You had Oregon State, one, trying to ruin that chance for the rival, as well as try to get bowl eligible. We said last week for Oregon State, typically when they play well, Jaquiz Rogers has a big game. He only had 87 yards. But we also mentioned on the show that for them to be successful against Oregon, Katz would have to have a big game through the air. And unfortunately for him, he did throw two touchdowns, but he also had 3 interceptions. For Oregon, not a great game for Thomas stats-wise, but he did have 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And what this game came down to, very similar to the last game we just talked about, was rushing yards. Oregon outgained them 346 to 90 in the rushing department. Big games for LaMichael James, 134 yards. Barner, 133 yards, just too much offense for them. So good game for Oregon. And for Oregon State, again, no bowl game. For a team that I think a lot of people predicted to possibly win a Pac-10 championship, long off season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of Duck fans right now might be thinking the Duck offense is kind of stuck in third gear right now, based on the last 3 weeks' performance. But on the other hand, knowing Chip Kelly, he might be the kind of guy who's just kind of taking his foot off the accelerator just a little bit. For example, in the last game against the Beavers, he didn't on the option play. He never kept the ball one time, not
Thomas?
one time. Thomas. But who did I say? It's Thomas. Thomas didn't keep the ball one time. Usually, if you have a pitch man, the defense doesn't know what you're going to do. If you're going to pitch it or keep it, and he made it easy for them. But I was wondering if Kelly's not just trying to make sure that he doesn't get hurt, or maybe he's playing a little cagey, not wanting to let Auburn know exactly all of his plays. Of course, I know they've got some game film. Fans like style points. They have to put up a lot of them. And Kelly's, if he can win by 1, he's fine with that. No big deal. The Ducks play, Virginia Tech has a style of ball they call beamer ball, but the Ducks have taken that to a different level. Beamer ball is where, you score points by, other than having your offense score touchdowns. And the Ducks have, they've upped the ante on that. They score points on special teams, return a kick, all those kind of things. But they also get a lot of points out of special play calling. When they go for it on first quarter, and it's 4th and 5, and they go for it and they make it, or they have an onside kick. It's still in the first quarter. I mean, those are things that you can't predict in a team, and I think those are some of the things you're going to call Gene Chizik in the national championship game to have a little bit more concern about the Ducks.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this. Were you guys fooled by the fake punt? Because I know I was.
Yes.
Totally.
I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
These are the kind of tomfoolery plays that he's accustomed to.
You can't predict that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, you can't. I was like, what? And then, oh.
In fact, I thought the hike was over the guy's head at first.
I did too. I thought it was out of camera. I was waiting to see him come into the shot. And then I see a guy running.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, last game we want to talk about is the Apple Cup. Washington took out Washington State University. I ate some crow because I only picked Washington State to get 6 points. But go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say, Jack.
Well, the Huskies are making a lot of inroads in their program. They won the last 3 games, and you might say, well, that's against teams who's collectively 6-21 in the Pac-10. But for a program that just 2 years ago was 0-12, that's heady stuff. Running back Chris Polk had an incredible game. He had 284 yards. That put him finishing second behind LaMichael James in rushing in the Pac-10. We wondered out loud a little bit earlier for the Cougars if Paul Wolf was going to be back next year, and we find out now that he is going to be. So now I suggest that he and his staff get hot on the recruiting trail because their best back, James Montgomery, he had his best game against the rivals this week, and he had a 78-yard output. He averages 43 yards on the year. They need to get on the recruiting trail, find some running backs to shore up that game if they want to be competitive next year.
Like you said, I think Washington has been improving, especially on the offensive side. Defensive side is still suspect, but offensively they're putting up a lot more yards. I think Locker's getting a little bit more comfortable, but I think their running game especially has progressed. And in this game alone, they produced 571 yards. Locker had a good game, and like you said, Polk through the on the ground game. And great for them to be bowl eligible. When was the last time Washington was bowl eligible? So I mean, and I know they're going to have a tough time in this bowl game against a good Nebraska team. But for Washington State, tough offseason. I know their expectations going in this year was to get bowl eligible and to win one Pac-10 game. It's tough.
But 0-12 2 years ago, not bad, and not bad improvement. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. Last week's recap for Week 14 of the NCAA football season. We're going to have some segments coming up. We're going to go over the bowl games, so be sure to check those videos out. We do appreciate you checking out these videos, and we'd like you to leave comments, so feel free to leave comments on our Facebook page, which you just search for Pac-10 Sports Talk, or on our YouTube channel right below. Thanks again. I'm Donovan.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Jack.
Thanks.